Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is Robin, and I am back on with Let's Talk Church. Yes, I'm a little late today, so y'all be a little forgiving. I appreciate you joining and coming on for today's session. So I thought about, with this being the beginning of the new year, that it is important that we talk about radical hospitality. So that's our topic for today. But before I jump into today's topic, let me just share, yay, tomorrow is my birthday. So I'm so super excited about that. And we're going to be snowed in Atlanta. So I went out yesterday and got my little birthday, just a little cupcake. So I'll be having that tomorrow by myself. And I'll celebrate and have dinner, next week or sometime. But I'm still excited. Tomorrow's my birthday. And then I have rescheduled my 2025 mastermind. So Saturday, we're going to do 2 or 3 hours virtually. And then February the 8th, we're going to come together for Get It Done. That is the name of the mastermind. So you can go to my website. I need to make sure I put the new date out there, but you can still register if you would like to join us. All right. Think I got everything. Again, thank you guys, everybody that is jumping on. Let me know where you are watching from. Yes, and of course, tell me your name. I always like to greet everybody. I miss hospitality, so that matters to me, that I get to say hello and good afternoon. And then, of course, to my folks on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. So y'all ready? Give me a 1 in the comments if you are ready to get started. All right, here we go. Talking about, of course, one of my favorite topics, and that is radical hospitality. You all know that I wrote my book, Wow Your Guests. That's what the entire book is about, and that is being radical with our hospitality. And I believe that radical hospitality is probably your best church growth strategy outside of a member witnessing and sharing and inviting someone to church. So you'll find a lot of the strategies that you can use as it relates to being radical in my book, and I'm going to share some of them even on this thread. All right. So here we go. What is radical hospitality? Radical hospitality, it goes beyond what's expected. One of the best companies to do it, of course, is Chick-fil-A. That's right. It is a culture of intentionally welcoming every person in a way that reflects the unconditional love of Jesus Christ. It requires churches. I can't say this enough. It requires churches to step outside of their comfort zones so that they can create an environment where visitors feel genuinely valued and seen. How many of us have been to churches as a visitor and we do not feel like we have been seen? That's right. The church is too stuck in the way that they want visitors handled. It is 2025. You ought to be incorporating something new as it relates to how you handle the welcoming process of your visitors. Maybe I'll get into that. In my book, I talk about what's expected as it relates to welcoming visitors, but then I go into how you wow them, how you elevate that. That's why the book is called Wow Your Guests. One of the first things is that you don't call visitors visitors, you call them guests, or you call them family. So that's why my book is called Wow Your Guests. So let's get into the teaching. Number 1, the power of first impressions. Research by Barna Group reveals that 85% of first-time visitors decide whether to return within the first 10 minutes of their arrival. Wait a minute, let me get my wand, because that's something we need to break down, y'all. What happens the first 10 minutes of your guest's visit to your church? Well, first 10 minutes, it's the parking lot experience. It may even be the website, but the parking lot experience and then the lobby experience. So y'all need to do some due diligence and make sure that those first 10 minutes are communicating the first impression that you want spoken. All right. And this, of course, happens long before the sermon. I teach this when I do my radical hospitality workshops. There are up to 7 touches that should take place for a visitor when they come to your church, and the first 4 happen before the sermon. I bet many of your churches have maybe 1, maybe 2 touches, but I can give you, and in my book, 4 to 5 that can happen before the sermon goes forth. Let me share just a quick little story. There's a church that I'm aware of in Texas that incorporated a red carpet ministry. I share this as well all the time, where greeters, they escorted visitors or guests from their cars to the sanctuary. It might not be a red carpet, it might be a tent, it might be a welcoming table, but the experience, the touch happens outside. That's it right there. All right. It gave them the opportunity. Listen to this. This intentional touch gave them an increased retention rate of 40% within a year of their visitors returning, of their guests returning. So here's what you can learn from this is your parking lot, your greeters, your ushers, they are your first sermon that your church preaches. Yep, they are your first sermon that your church preaches. Train them to embody joy, kindness, attentiveness, smile, and of course, information that you want shared with those that are attending. Let's keep going. Number 2, hospitality is an evangelistic tool, right? People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Now, you all know that is from the queen herself, Maya Angelou. Absolutely. People do not forget how you make them feel. That is why we oftentimes go back to the same restaurants, we go to the same hotels, or we commit to the same hotel chains. I don't know about you, but I stick with the same hotel chains. I want my reward points. I want my upgrades. I want my vouchers that they send me, all because of how they make me feel. Even the airlines, it's the same way. Romans 15:7 teaches us, accept one another, then just as Christ accepted you in order to bring praise to God. It is important that we are mindful how we make our visitors feel. All right, here we go. Radical hospitality, you guys, it doesn't stop at a handshake. It doesn't stop at a hug. It includes remembering people's names, learning stories. I teach that it is so important that when you're greeting a visitor as the church member, your tool that you're to use are your ears and not your mouth. It is your ears and not your mouth. Listen, let people tell you what's going on with them, and then you respond. All right. And then, of course, helping visitors feel a sense of belonging from the start. You know, that's kind of the buzzword now. Everybody's talking about belonging, but that's true. You want to make sure that, you know, in church, we got a lot of rituals, y'all. We got a lot of traditions. We know when we stand, when we sit, when we clap, when we're supposed to shout, when we're supposed to play the tambourine, but your visitor may not know that. And that's why it's key that when you're having your leadership sessions, that you're teaching this type of content. It's one thing to tell your leaders to be friendly and to be nice, but it's another to teach them how to help our guests feel like they belong there. All right. Number 3, intentionality over convenience. Here's a statistic that I want to share with you. According to Gallup, 71% of people say they would return to a church where they felt someone genuinely cared about them. 71% of people said they would return to a church where they felt someone genuinely cared about them. I've shared this story before. Had a young lady join our church with 2 or 3 little kids and went down to hug her. Holy Spirit told me to go and do it. And when I asked her, if I could be a blessing to her, she needed a MARTA card. MARTA is our bus system. I didn't really know how that worked, but I found out how it works, and I put money on her MARTA card, not only so she could come back to church, but so that she could get through the rest of the month. All right. That is what makes people say they experience God. All right. It's not just all about what happens through a sermon. All right. And not through just the worship experience. Here's an example. A church in Chicago, they offer a visitor concierge desk. It's staffed with hospitality trained leaders. First-time guests receive a welcome packet, a free voucher for something out of the bookstore or a beverage, and an invitation to come to a welcome reception immediately following the service. This initiative helped them grow their weekly attendance by 25% in just 6 months. They created an experience. Again, that's what I talk about in my book. Go from what's expected to creating an experience. Go the extra mile by offering intentional services such as visitor parking spaces, childcare, or even a personalized follow-up call from the pastor or the assimilation team, or even via email. My mom, God rest her soul, the church she went to, they had parking for anyone over the age of 60. They had about 30 spaces. And she would say to me, get me to church so I can get one of those spaces, because she didn't, need a handicap parking pass. So she didn't, have one. And so it mattered to her that she could get good parking. All of that matters. All right. And then thinking about going the extra mile, it makes me think about Matthew 5:41. This is the scripture that Chick-fil-A, they use to actually teach their leaders. And it says that when someone asks you to go 1 mile with them, go an extra. I want to make sure, let me tell you what page that is on so that you can, where am I? So that you can reference this when you are teaching. Hopefully you're going to teach this tip in your class. But, Chick-fil-A, we know that they love hospitality, and they teach their people that they should say, instead of thank you, they should say, it's my pleasure, right? Meaning, I did not have to go out of my way for you. What you needed me to do was just natural. All right. That is what we're talking about when we read Matthew 5:41. Number 4, radical hospitality means being inclusive. True hospitality is marked by an open response to the dignity of each and every person. Listen, that person that comes in that doesn't look like how you think they should look, their hair doesn't look like you think it should look, they, may not even smell like you think they should look, they still deserve to be treated with love. A small church in Virginia made a deliberate effort to provide wheelchair access, sensor-friendly services, and multilingual resources. This act of inclusion attracted families who previously struggled to find a welcoming place to worship. Think about it. Our kids, some of them are autistic, and they can't take their sensory overload from the lights and the sound and music from our worship experiences. Do we have options for them? Review your church's physical space, your programming, and communication to ensure that you cater to diverse needs. Radical hospitality means welcoming everyone and not just those who fit the mold. All right. Radical hospitality. I cannot stress this enough. I'm hoping as you're planning your first leadership sessions of the year that you are focusing on hospitality. I had a pastor call me the other day, and he said that the theme for the first 3 months, I loved it, for Q1 was radical hospitality. And would I come and do a session? Absolutely. Why does this matter? Because radical hospitality is a reflection of God's love in action. As leaders, we have to ask ourselves, does every visitor leave our church feeling better than when they came? All right. By committing to this culture, and it is a culture, the subtitle of my book is Winning Hospitality Strategies to Change the Culture of Your Church. So by committing to this culture, your church, it not only grows numerically, but spiritually, as it mirrors the heart of Christ, that we are to serve others. Think about that. All right. I am a huge proponent of radical hospitality. I go out of my way to make people feel good, feel special. I'm attentive. I do my 10-10-10 rule. You know, I've taught about that and it's in my book, but people are catching on. I'm watching people in my own church now going around and greeting 10 people and making sure they do it before church and, or after, whatever their model is. But it matters, guys. It matters. Ask someone that doesn't have a church home outside of the excuse of church hurt, ask them why they don't go to church. And I promise you, one of the reasons is going to be about hospitality. All right. Well, listen, I pray that this was a blessing to you. I'm going to stay on this topic as I continue in this series, because again, I feel like it's my kingdom assignment to make sure that the love of Christ, the love that he's asked us to show others, to be his vessel, that's what we keep top of mind, that it is in the forefront of what we do. And I get it. It's important that we focus on our church finances. It's important that we focus on our church buildings. It's important that we focus on fellowshipping even with one another. But it is also important that we focus on those that are coming into our churches, and that, we get them to become saved, and then we are able to disciple them, which is what the Great Commission tells us that we're to do. All right. Well, I hope you've been blessed. I want to encourage you. Let me just share this for those of you that may not have it, that I have a direct link. If you want to order the book, you can get it on my website, thewareagency.com. I have actual print copies as well as digital downloads. So you can click that QR code and it will take you directly to the link. And then, make sure if you're not on my email list, I send out some really great information. I would love for you to be a part of my email list. It's simple. All you have to do is text the word join, JOIN, to the number 678-271-1601. Again, text the word join to the number 678-271-1601 and follow the prompts. And then you will be connected to your girl and you will get information about my upcoming events, some of the free stuff that I've got that I'm launching. And then, of course, some of you already know about my 31 days of always winning affirmations. Those are available as well. You can get those, of course, by using the link that is posted or going to my website. All right. Thank you, guys. I love you. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for my birthday. Yep. We're going to hang out a little bit on tomorrow as well. God bless.